Channel. Today we are doing a video building off my previous video where I showed you guys what's necessary in order to have successful corners in Madden 20, and we're going to build on that and start up the Hidden Gems series where I show you guys hidden gems at a specific position that you guys can go out and target for relatively cheap. They can fill your position spots, specifically here your corner spots, without having to break the bank and without having to get a high overall player. Now I have a whole bunch of them here for you guys today, all very good corners, all guys that I am personally fond of and try to target in leagues, and I'll tell you some different reasons why for some of them. And there are some categories here, or there are some guidelines for how I consider guys gems. First of all, they can't be rookies. Any rookies, generally you're not going to be allowed to trade for rookies in a franchise if you're trying to do a realistic franchise. So I'm not including any of the rookies in here. There would be a lot of rookies included on this list because there's a lot of young guys in this mid 60s to high 60s range that have really good attributes that could be good corners. And so hopefully you find some of those on your own team. But generally speaking, we're not going to try and trade for those guys. Number two is that they have to pretty much be under the age of 26 years old. Now there's one guy on this list that is 26 years old that I just have a personal love for, and I feel like he plays a lot better than he actually his rating shows, and that's Jalen Collins. But I'll get to that as I go down the list. Those are the basic ideas around what it is. It's an age thing, it's an overall thing, and it's guys that aren't really starters on their team. And to top out the list up here, number one is Jalen Mills. Technically speaking, he is a steal this year. He is a hidden gem. And the reason being is that he's a 74. Technically speaking, he is the fourth best corner on the Eagles roster. And so you can get him for a cheap price, and you should have no trouble convincing your commissioners that you should be allowed to trade for him because he's sitting behind Darby, Avonte Maddox, and Jones. And so you will be able to get Jalen Mills for a relatively cheap price, and in a lot of leagues he's actually going to be sitting there on the trade block. Now, why is he a gem? Well, you look at his stats. Physically speaking, he's a freak. He's got 90 speed, 91 agility, and 90 acceleration. On top of that, he has decent strength at 62, and he actually has pretty good coverage ability. If you go over to his man and zone coverage abilities here, and I'm not going to do this for all of them, but he has 71 and 75, and that's going to be the case for a lot of these guys. They're going to have one or the other pretty good stat in their coverage abilities, but for the most part, these guys are going to be physically able to fill your position, and we talked about that in the previous video. If you didn't watch it, go back and take a look at that last video on the channel, because it's going to describe why we're targeting these types of players and why these players are specifically good for what we're trying to do. Moving on, there is a guy, Ahkello Witherspoon. He is on the 49ers, and he is kind of low down on the depth chart. He is a 72 overall, but he, again, is a physically impressive player. Now, Jalen Mills is impressive in terms of his size as well as his physical attributes, but that's 6 foot. You look at Ahkello Witherspoon, he's 6'2", and he brings 91 speed and 92 acceleration to the position. That's just absolutely phenomenal. He's going to win a lot of battles because he's got great length and he has great athletic ability, and so that's why these two are pretty much the top two on this list. As we move down, we get to Kevin Seymour. Very much like Jalen Mills, he's a 70 overall. He's got 93 speed, however, 89 agility, and 91 acceleration. An all-around good physical player, just not as good in his coverage abilities. He's a guy that is physically able to make the plays, like I said, similar to the guys above him. And then you go ahead and you go down to Grant Haley. This one is one of my personal favorites. He is very young. He's a second-year player, so he's only 23. You'll have a lot of room to develop this guy. The reason that I like him so much is not his 91 speed or his 91 acceleration, it's that he has 97 agility. And what that means, and why he's one of the top players on this list, is because what that means is that he is able to change directions to cover routes any way you need him to. And so if you build him up to a point where he has really good coverage stats, he will make plays everywhere. He can turn into one of the best corners in the game if you put enough training and experience points into him. So he is really, really high on this list, and you definitely want to consider targeting Grant Haley. I believe he's on the Giants in Madden. Now, as this list goes down, I'm going to start to forget what teams these guys came from, but these are some of the most important ones here up at the top. We're going to start getting into lower overall players here in a moment, but another one is Obi Melifonwu. Obi Melifonwu, I forget what team he was on first, but then he transferred over to the Patriots, and currently he is listed as a free agent on this roster. The reason he is on this list is because he's physically a freak. He is 6'4", and he boasts 92 speed and 93 acceleration. He is certainly much more favorable to, or much more akin to playing safety. I play him at safety a lot, but he can play corner. The reason that he's better at playing safety is because he's only got that 84 agility. However, if you can turn him into a successful corner, 6'4" is not going to get beat a whole lot. That guy is so tall, he's going to basically have his way with any receiver he's going up against if he gets turned into a top-end corner. Then we go down to guys that have a couple guys that have a ton of speed. There's going to be 3 of these guys in a row, actually 4 of them. Perry Nickerson, it's going to be Keon Crossan, Tony Brown, and then Anthony Averett. These guys are all here for the exact same reason. They're here because they are the speedsters in this class, and they're all young. So Perry Nickerson is a free agent with 95 speed. You go ahead down to Keon Crossan. He is on, I couldn't tell you what team. I thought he was on the Patriots in my one league, but I think he's on a different team now. He has 95 speed. Then you have Tony Brown out of Alabama, a second-year player that has 94 speed, and Anthony Averett, a second-year player. He is on the Ravens. These guys all have 94 or better speed. That's why they're on this list. If you guys can take these guys with these impressive physical attributes and get their coverage stats up, they're going to make plays all over the place. The one that I particularly like the most, or 2 of them that I particularly like the most, are actually Keon Crossan and Tony Brown. Now, I like Keon Crossan slightly more because he has 1 more year on Tony Brown, but they both have 90 or better agility, which means that they're going to be able to make any play that you need them to make. And so these 2 are really high on my list. I try and target them a lot of the time. I'm going to go back up to Teez Tabor. Teez Tabor is a really good pick on this list for a slot cornerback. The reason he's a really good ideal slot cornerback is, first and foremost, he's only 22 years old, so you can shape him any way you need to. You're going to have a lot of time to be able to shape Teez Tabor into whatever mold you want your slot cornerback to be. Now, the reason I say slot corner is because he's only got 87 speed, so he's not going to be able to match up on the outside. Don't try and make him into an outside corner. Maybe later on in his career, you can make him into like a press type of corner or a zone corner, but first and foremost, you're going to want to start him off as a slot type of corner, and he'll make plays for you. He's only got that 87 speed, but he still has 90 acceleration and has decent agility for the spot. Really just a pretty good player and very young. That's the main reason why he's on this list. He's only 22 years old, and he can turn into a really good slot corner for you guys. Now we move down to a couple other guys down here. The 26-year-old, the only 26-year-old on this list, the oldest player on this list, and there's a specific reason why he's on this list. Jalen Collins played for the Falcons a while ago. He will be a free agent in your leagues. Jalen Collins is, in my opinion, one of the better free agent corners on the list, and he has the physical attributes to back it up. He's got 90 speed, 91 agility, and 88 acceleration. I'd like for that acceleration to be a bit better, but he hasn't been... I don't know if you guys know this, but Madden programs certain players to play better than other players. Jalen Collins is one of those guys. He's been programmed into the game since he played on the Falcons because he was a really good corner for the Falcons at one point early in his career, and then I think he got into some trouble and got released and stuff like that, and it hasn't been picked up from the team since. But he hasn't been unprogrammed from the game to play well. He just does. He just plays better than other corners. Even though he's a 66 overall, he just plays better. He plays better than any other 66 you're going to have on your team, probably better than most of your low 70s. And so I like to get him on my team. He doesn't have a whole lot of room for development left, being that he's 26, but you can take him and place him in like the third, fourth, or fifth corner spot and know that you can rely on him to make some plays every once in a while. So that's why he's on this list as a hidden gem. Then we go ahead down to Kevin Tolliver. Kevin Tolliver is another guy that I would consider for a slot cornerback position, possibly even a press outside corner position. Now, he has 89 speed, so you can technically play him on the outside. He'll be able to keep up for the most part, but he will get blown by on occasion. The really important things to note with Kevin Tolliver, he is actually a Bear, I believe. He's only 23 years old, and he is 6'2". 6'2" is a really good height for a corner. I love seeing that out of a second-year player. I can shape him and mold him into a force to be reckoned with on the outside. He is 89 speed, 88 agility, and 90 acceleration. That 90 acceleration is pretty important. That's pretty good for a 65 overall, and he can do a lot of things for you if you turn him into a good corner and get his coverage stats up, give him some XP. One of my personal favorites on this list, and a guy that I get in most of my leagues, is Jalen Mills, and that's because he is straight up a free agent. You will find him as a free agent in all of your leagues unless somebody else signed him, and the reason I like him a lot is because he's got 95 speed and 95 acceleration. He can return kicks if you want him to. He can do just about anything, and I have him sometimes playing free safety, sometimes playing corner, even sometimes playing strong safety, and he does a hell of a job. He just flies everywhere because he has incredible speed, and he will get extra XP, because he'll be making plays just because he's getting to where the ball is. He's just that fast. He's good at it, and I like to turn him into a pretty good corner. Usually I turn him into like a backup safety that I can trust, or a third or fourth corner that I can trust. He's a really good option on this list. We're down to the bottom three players now. Corn Elder is another guy that just kind of fits into the mold pretty well. He's 24 years old. He's a third-year player. He has 90 speed, 89 agility, and 90 acceleration. Just a pretty good corner that you can probably turn into a decent cover corner on the outside. This is a guy that I have played with multiple times. He plays decently well, and you can probably transform him into a starter on your team without much problem. Then we go on to another personal favorite, who is Adonis Alexander. Number one, I just love his name. Number two, he's 6'3", 207 pounds. Number four, he's a freaking beast. He's got 87 speed, so not the best, and only 82 agility, but he has 90 acceleration. This is another candidate to play safety for you guys, or play slot corner. I've actually taken him and gotten him up to an 85 overall, and he plays like a monster. He's really good. I did that last year on Madden, and I just really like this guy. I can't help but like the guy. He has all the potential to be developed into a good player because he's only 22 years old. He's another guy on this list that's only 22 years old, very similar to T's Tabor, that you can take and mold into just about anything you want him to be because he's so young, and that's why he's on this list. Now, the final player on this list is a guy that I am also a fan favorite of. Rashard Robinson. He is a free agent, I believe, in most places. He has been better in previous years. I believe he was a Jet for a while, and now he's a free agent, and he's only down to a 63. This one's a risky pickup because his coverage stats are actually pretty bad compared to the rest of the people on this list, but physically speaking, he is a very fast player at 93 speed and 90 acceleration. However, the one thing you're going to want to note is he has one of the worst agility ratings of anybody on this roster, and that's at 79. And so there are a lot of drawbacks when you start to get into some of these players that are this low overall, but you can take them and transform them into something good. I've started to transform my roster into guys that are tall and can make plays in the secondary, and so I like having guys like this that are 6'2", 177 and can make plays, as opposed to having some of the shorter guys like a Corn Elder maybe that's 5'10". I like to have, and you'll notice that a lot on this list, there's a lot of tall guys on here, and that gives you an advantage. When you're employing low overall players, it's better for them to be tall and lanky because then they have a better chance of making plays. So you'll see guys like 6'2", 6'3". You move up 6'2" for Tolliver, 6'1" for Collins, 6 foot for Tony Brown, 6 foot for T's Tabor, 6'4" for Obi Melifonwu, 6 foot for Kevin Seymour, 6'2" for Witherspoon, and 6'0" for Jalen Samuels. That's a lot of tall guys here at the corner spot. And that's just going to help you even more in the pass coverage game because they're going to be able to make plays better just because they have better length to them and they can cover more territory because of that. And so this is it, guys. This is my hidden gems at corner this year in Madden. There are quite a few more players that I have considered for this list. I just needed to kind of narrow it down a little bit, and so hopefully this helps you guys out. There's plenty of players here for you guys to choose from. I would honestly be comfortable having a starting 5 set of corners, any of them that are on this list, because I could take these guys and make them into good players just based on their physical attributes alone. And so keep that in mind, that I would be happy to have any of these players on my team. And even in my franchises, you'll notice that I have multiple of these players on my team at a time. And so, like I said, you don't need to have high overall players to have a good secondary. You don't need high overall corners. And if you haven't watched that video, like I said, go back and watch that video and I explain exactly why. But with that being said, if this did help you out, if it pointed you in the direction of some corners that you guys can pick up that could help your team or that you could develop into good starting corners, let me know by leaving a like on the video, subscribing to the channel, and commenting down below. I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope this helped you guys out. Have a good one.